Now, the next step, which is very important, the next step, and at this point I make reference to my teaching, you may want to listen to it in the course of the week, the ministry of light, the journey beyond salvation. Now, most believers, please listen to me, and with all due respect, I will encourage those who particularly are of the evangelical foundation, listen carefully, because for most people, they do not know that salvation is only the initiation of the process that evolves a man until he becomes a witness. And so most people come around the initial experience of salvation, and they do not know, and they are not taught that that is the beginning of a journey that should drive anyone who has now come to Christ. Are we together? That beyond the initial salvation, the next step, listen, is the journey of transformation and empowerment. Do not forget this, the journey of transformation and empowerment. The moment you see anyone who gets saved, in fact, I recall, and let me remind you again, that the greatest need from a spiritual standpoint, the greatest need of every unbeliever is what? Salvation. You still remember? Every time you see an unbeliever, whether as a business partner, whether as a spouse, whether as a sibling, whether as a billionaire, whether as a politician, from a natural standpoint you are seeing a colleague, a friend, but from a spirit kingdom standpoint, the greatest need of every unbeliever is salvation. They may not know, they may not be aware, they may not accept. Are we together? But the greatest need of every unbeliever around you, have this as an orientation, is salvation. Meaning, no matter what good you do to an unbeliever from a spiritual standpoint, you have not really completed your good to that person until you are used by God to lead that person to salvation. Because God desires that all men, how many men? All men be saved, and then when they are saved, that they come unto the knowledge of the truth. Praise the name of the Lord. So the greatest need of an unbeliever is salvation. The greatest need of a believer now in Christ is transformation. Remember? And the greatest need of a transformed believer is empowerment. It's important. So there is a progression that after salvation, the journey of transformation and empowerment begins. And let me see how many of you have gotten this as a stronghold in your mind.